friends. Like,
hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of TRUUU Podcast. I'm your host, Alex.
and I'm Drea.
And today, I guess, one demand.
I know, I was going to be like, not by popular demand. It was one suggestion.
Certainly not by popular demand, but this is going to be the last episode of our first season, which has lasted like 2 years.
Correct. Yeah, we really should have, in retrospect, switched seasons after we came back from our hiatus, and we just didn't think about it.
Right. But anyway, so season finale here, I guess, is we're going to talk about quarantine and all quarantine-related madness.
Yes, and the reason Alex had said, started saying by popular demand, this is something that was recommended by one of our Instagram followers on our recent poll / type in your own response deal on our story this week. So shout out to you. Who was it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I saw it in passing. Yeah, you know who you are.
I think you know who I think it was? I think it was Juan Guerrero.
Well, here you go, Juan, if you listen to the podcast.
I think it was, but maybe I'm really crazy. If it wasn't, I'm going to cut this part out.
Well, miss you, bro. We had some good times back in the day.
Truly.
Anyway, so I guess what's appropriate here is then to begin with how quarantine started for each of us, because I think it started at different times for each of us.
Yeah, and I think quarantine has meant different things for us, too. So this is a good point to, really boister this conversation.
Right.
But, yeah, so for me, it was, here's the thing. I'm already, starting with here's the thing. So right before quarantine started, I had taken a trip, which I've mentioned multiple times on this podcast, with JT. He's one of my friends, and he is featured on our music podcast, our Embarrassing Stories podcast, and I think maybe another one. But me, him, and my friend Amanda, we went out to visit our friend Celine, who was on, I think 2 weeks ago, our podcast, and she lived in Indiana at the time. So we flew out and took kind of this weekend trip to Chicago. And I remember leading up to this trip, it was in that period of time where everyone was starting to kind of okay, airlines are canceling flights and is your trip getting canceled and all this stuff. So we were in that kind of boat of this is really affecting the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up going, had an absolutely fantastic time, came back, and literally the day I went to work after we came back was when everyone was oh, this education system is shutting down, because I work in a high school. And the thing is that Alex was supposed to go on this trip.
So here's the funny thing about that is that, so I work in the mission office of a private school.
Right.
So
we both work in education.
Right, we both work in education. And literally the most important weekend of the entire year in my office, Drea's hey, do you want to go to Chicago? And I'm just I'll see, but I don't think so, because literally, she wanted to leave, red eye on, a Friday morning.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And the following Monday was when all of our admission decisions went out. So, there was a ton of prep work that we still needed to do for it, because, we mailed out, how colleges do, mailed out acceptance letters.
Right.
So, literally, when I was, in the early part of 2020,
mm-hmm.
my bosses were take vacation whenever you want, just not at this
weekend. And here's the thing, in any other situation, if this had happened and I invited you and you were last second, I can't go, da-da-da-da-da, I would be totally fine with it, never bring it up, nothing. The fact that it was the last weekend before quarantine, and then we haven't been able to do a single thing since, is the only reason I'm Alex, oh my gosh, you should have gone.
She really can't let it die. And 100%, you know that I wanted to go.
I know you did, and I'm sad you didn't. I know it wasn't your fault. You were being responsible. I'm not in any way upset with you, but I'm upset with your boss. I'm upset with your work schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, I went to Chicago. And that was also kind of an interesting trip, because it was the last thing I did before everything really hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being in public, highly populated places with no mask, no hand sanitizer afoot,
Right.
And it's just crazy to think that happened, and then the day after was it's over,
Right.
So yeah, I came back, and I remember being at school, and I remember just everyone flipping out. Like, I didn't even do a single thing for work, like, that day because everyone was just watching, like, the presidential address and, like, all the news outlets. And then as soon as LA County announced that they were closing the schools is when we were like, it's over. We're donezo. We're going home. And I remember specifically there's this girl in ASB. So I work in the ASB department of the high school I work at.
Right.
And one of the girls in ASB who is notorious for asking me really existential questions that I don't have answers to. Like, one time she was like, she asked me this, like, straight up. She was like, do you think God thinks I'm a good person? Oh, and I was like, I don't know. I think, like, she asked me questions like that. And so, like, that girl came up to me when, I'm listening to the presidential address. And she's like, Dre, do you think we're going to be okay? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I will never forget this ever because I'm like, I really don't know what to tell this girl. Like, I want to be like, yeah, everything's going to be fine. But at the same time, I'm just like, maybe it won't. And obviously, it still isn't. So that was, like, literally my last hurrah. And then, boom, I'm at home for, like, 4 months. How about you, Alex?
So, it's actually kind of interesting because mine was a full week later.
Yeah, because you're private, right? You're a private school, and that's why?
Yeah, well, so here's how it kind of went. The end of that week, the week that you had to go home,
right,
is when we moved out, because my school's a boarding school, so that's when we moved out all the kids.
So there was, like, logistical things you had to do first.
Well, not me specifically.
Well, I mean, like, the school.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Right. So, like, I think it was either on that Monday or that Wednesday, like, we had, my department, like, has staff meetings every week. Not, like, full, like, school staff meetings, but just, like, my department.
Right.
In our meeting, I remember writing down that we were going to discuss then the following Monday, like, what it would look like if we were to work from home. So, like, that week goes by. My coworker has his last day because he was moving to Washington, and literally, like, no one was able to come to his, like, party that we had in the office because all the kids were moving out, like, right at that moment.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was, like, super sad.
Yeah.
And it was raining that day.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, sorry. Continue, and then I remembered something right now. You triggered it.
And the crazy thing was, which is why it's so memorable to me.
We're both struggling with speaking
right?
today.
And it's memorable because that weekend was my older brother's birthday weekend.
God.
And my cousins from Idaho happened to be down that weekend.
Was that the Smirnoff weekend?
Yes.
Ah, all right.
So, and that's also the weekend, because on the day of my brother's birthday, my older brother's birthday, because he was busy with his wife, I went with my twin brother and my other sister going skiing. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's the last thing I did, really, in the free world.
Like, it's over.
Is I went skiing and got super bodied trying to ski. Like, seriously, I was actually thinking about it earlier today before we, like, did the whole, outline for this podcast today. Like, I was thinking about...
reliving it?
Yeah, so, like, on one of the ski... Like, I was trying to get off a ski lift.
You ate it off a ski lift?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So, like, they
awful.
had to stop the ski lift.
No, how embarrassing.
I mean, I wasn't embarrassed at all by it. What I was freaked out.
But you never get embarrassed by anything.
Correct. But no, I fell in such a way that, like, you know how... This is going to sound really funny after I say it. So you know how, like, when people fall from great heights and, like, their legs sprawl out all crazy because their legs are broken? That was me.
Oh, my God.
And the skis were so heavy, and I was trying to, like, use that's what you're supposed to do. It's, like, the rod thing. You're supposed to use that to, like, get your foot out of the, what connects to the ski.
Okay.
Like, you're supposed to use that to get it off.
Right.
I couldn't do it because it was, like, shut so tight on my ski, and I was trying to, do that, and my legs hurt so bad because I was in an unnatural position.
Right.
And the ski lift operator, who was ancient, by the way, was such a jerk to me about it.
Oh, my gosh.
And the worst thing about it, really, was that my twin brother was in the lift, like, right behind me. So, like, I'm literally, like, in the snow, like, starting to cry because, like, I'm so freaked out. I'm in so much pain, like... And my brother's, like, watching me not able to do anything, and then also watching this guy be, like, the rudest ever to me.
Was he yelling at him? Like, did your brother come to your aid at all?
we're not a yelling family.
Oh, gosh, I would have been like, hey! Shut up!
I think he was more so concerned just about me than he was about the guy. But anyway, so, like, that all happened on a Saturday. And then on this next day, the Sunday, I was hanging out with... Well, I hung out with my family on both days, really. No, well, yeah. And the last thing I truly did in the free world before this whole thing happened is that I actually drove two of my cousins out here, and we had Ajisen ramen.
Oh, yeah, nice. And that's a good way to top it off.
The last thing I did in the free world.
Holy.
So then the following Monday, the 16th of March, I was going in thinking we were going to talk about what it's going to look like. And literally, like, because my office is in, like, a refurbished home.
Right.
So, and my desk is in the living room.
Okay.
Which is, like, kind of the guest area for all of, our visitors.
Right.
And literally, like, all my, like, when we had our meeting, quote-unquote meeting, all my coworkers were, like, sitting in different parts of the living room to give them, social distance and whatever. And then my boss is like, yeah, grab all the stuff that you need to work and then go home. Like, this is it.
Oh, my gosh. So it wasn't even like hey, this is going to prepare us. It's like, it's over.
Right.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's wild.
I've been working home ever since.
Wow, that's wild. But your story did remind me that actually I'm a little bit wrong. So the day I came back from Chicago the day after I came back from Chicago was the last day of school, but then it wasn't the last day for us. We ended up working a week later because we were handing out, like, meals. Because a lot of, like, public schools, like, they, like, students rely on the like nutritional services. Yeah. So we had to, like, work with the cafeteria workers to, like, hand out meals still. And it was, like, cruel and unusual punishment for me and Rochelle, my boss, because we were stationed at, like, the front of the school, like, in the entrance of the driveway to just hold signs that said, like, enter here or whatever. And, like, that was our job for the entire day. And that was the day that it was raining. And we were like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how unreal it is to just sit on a corner for hours just holding a sign. Right. Like, I know people actually do that, like, like, sign holders and whatnot. Right. But, like, oh my gosh, it is torture.
I'm sure.
It was misery.
It's so boring.
Oh my gosh, it was awful. So, yeah, that was actually the last thing I did. And then once, I think we, like, had nutrition services for, like, a week, and then after that we were, like, officially, like, go home, you're done. Right. But okay, so then transitioning from working to being at home was very different for me than obviously it is for you. Right. Because you haven't stopped working, right?
I have not.
I did not work. So when we got sent home, we literally didn't have a single thing to do for, like, a full 2 months. Like, I was just at home doing nothing at all. Like, no meetings, no phone calls, no work. Because here's the thing, like, even if I did work from home, like, my job specifically would have 0 duties. Because my job is to, like, do student activities. So, like, if the students aren't there, how am I going to do something? If I'm at home, how am I doing activities? Yeah. So even if we were working from home, I couldn't do it. So ultimately, like, after, like, that first month was, like, really challenging because I went from having, like, an absolutely outrageous schedule because on top of working at the school full time, because, like, 7:30 to 3:30 were my hours at the school, and then I would rush directly over to Whittier College and coach the tennis team because I was the assistant coach for the men's and the women's tennis team, coach them, and then I would have class from 5 to 8 at night. And then I would come home, go to, like, see my dog, go to sleep, start the whole day over. And that was, like, every single day. Right. And then we have matches on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So, like, my schedule in the spring was really, really outrageous. And then from that to absolutely nothing was outrageous. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. So me and Erin, we, like, spent the first month sleeping. Like, I know that sounds like, okay, you really didn't sleep the whole 4 months. We really did. Like, we woke up late, we would watch some TV, we would take a nap in the middle of the day, watch more TV, and then go to sleep. And, like, that was our whole day because on top of it all, nowadays, like, I'll go see my mom, I'll go see my dog, like, this is this, you know? But, like, then it was, like, so new that, like, my mom didn't want anyone coming to her house,
right.
you know, like, we weren't seeing friends. We had a few Zoom, like, meetings with our friends. Like, if you remember, we'd play, like, Quiplash and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, we really spent that first month doing nothing. And I feel like it really, like, put me in this super depressive state because it was just such an astronomical change from what I was doing. And then eventually, maybe like a month into it, my work started finding work for all our classified employees to do. So, like, basically we became in charge of attendance. So, like, if students didn't log into their Google Classrooms, we would have a spreadsheet at the end of the week, and then we would be assigned a certain, like, department, and we would have to call all the students from that department, or, like, that missed the class from that department, call their parents, and let them know.
Right.
And here's the issue with that. So say a kid was absent a whole day. Every single class. Those are all different departments. So that parent is getting 6 different phone calls from 6 different people saying your kid was absent today. So by the time that, you know, like, I call them, these parents are like, shut the F up. Like, you know, like, I'm so pissed at you. Like, they would be angry, like, genuinely angry at me. And I was like, I'm just trying to do my job. I'm sorry. Like, I wish I didn't have to do this. Trust me, this is the last thing I want to be doing. But yeah, we had to do that. And what I ended up doing is I would do my phone calls at 8 a.m. on Monday morning because I figured no one else wants to do this at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. So I'll be the first person to call. I won't get angry parents. And I'm calling really early. So I'm sure many people won't even answer, which was the case, which amazing. I just love voicemails.
That is an excellent strategy.
Yeah. And I would just plow through my whole list that first day of the week, and then I wouldn't have to, like, revisit it at all the whole week.
Very good.
That's how I survived it. It was awful, though. Like, when we were done with that, I was like, praise Jesus. Like, this is the best gift I can ever receive. But it was also difficult because I had my birthday during quarantine.
Right.
And
early
it was
quarantine,
like,
too.
Yeah, and it was, like, really quarantine. Like, it was, like, pre-seeing your friends, pre-seeing your family quarantine.
Yeah, we had a Zoom call and played Jackbox.
Yep, exactly. So it was a miserable birthday for me. Not because of anyone's fault, but because of society. Yeah. But, yeah, that was my transition from working full-time, like 2 jobs, 3 jobs in retrospect, if you consider going to school as a job, to doing nothing. I watched a lot of documentaries. But how about you, Alex? How was your transition?
It was pretty rough, I would say. Because, like, here's the thing. So, you know, when I was working in TV at Fox, I had 3 monitors to do my work.
Right.
2 of them being connected, 1 being connected to a different service, but that's neither here nor there. 3 monitors. And then in the office at my current job, I had 2 monitors. So, you know, essentially normal. And then cut to me having to work from home, and here's the thing, like, everyone else in my office worked off of docked laptops.
Okay.
So, like, they already had, like, a laptop assigned to them by the school. They had their own docking station, which connected to dual monitors. Great for them. Mine was not a laptop. Like, it was this, like, mini CPU thing that connected to 2 monitors.
Okay.
So the school assigned me a laptop, which is cool. Because I needed a webcam, because that's the one thing I also didn't have that everyone else did was a webcam. And obviously, during this whole thing, you need to have a webcam.
Right, yeah.
So initially, I have no office in my house. Can't really be downstairs because of noise. Because at the time, my mom was also working from home.
Right. And your mom's a teacher.
Right. So she has to, you know, teach classes and whatever.
Right. She has to be very engaged.
So I was a bat in the attic, basically. Shut in my room. Literally sitting on my bed all day. With a laptop, with a tiny laptop with 1 screen.
That's so miserable.
And it was kind of like, I hate everything right now.
Do you feel like you developed, like, any back issues from that?
No, because very quickly I had to decide, you know, ways to make that whole thing livable. So the day that we left, my boss, because everyone else besides me has company credit cards.
Okay. Oh, wow.
To like, because they all travel as part of their job.
Okay, got it.
So my boss bought me a lap desk thing.
Okay.
Because everyone else was taking them home. And he's just like, okay, I'll buy you one. And, you'll have that at home then to work off of.
How nice.
Right. So it took maybe like a week for that to come in.
Okay.
So literally just laptop on my lap for like a week. Mm-hmm. And then like I had my Padfolio as like a mouse pad.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And then I also bought one of those like back pillow things that a lot of like dorm, college students have in their dorms.
Yeah, that has like the little arms on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I bought one of those at Target, like pretty, like maybe a weekend as well. Because I'm just like, I can't live like this.
Yeah, you gotta get some support.
Right. But it was very uncomfortable. I had to change positions a lot, like leaning forward, like leaning against pillows, like, doing all this stuff because my legs were falling asleep.
Oh my goodness.
My butt hurt.
Yeah. I can't imagine, like I also had the issue of, like, not really having a space at the beginning of quarantine. Not to your extent, obviously, but, like, even just in my little experience with that, like, I was, like, constantly, like, ugh, my back. So that's why I'm like, ugh, I feel like you were really in it.
Yeah, especially, like, working off of one screen after being, like, used to working on multiple screens is, you can't go back after that.
I feel you. I haven't had the experience of multiple screens, so I'm just like, but I'm sure if I had it, I would be like, this is the worst.
Yeah, because, like, I have to have a ton of windows open to, like to schedule one appointment for, like, an interview.
Mm-hmm.
I have my email open to look at the email from the, student who's like, I've selected this time.
Mm-hmm.
I have the student record up.
Mm-hmm.
I have our online scheduler up.
Okay.
And then I also have our office calendar up.
So you have, like, split screen on 2 monitors, basically,
right.
going on.
I have 4 windows open in total. Well, visible open, because I have them layered as well.
Right.
So, like, I need the space.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Eventually, after I don't even really know how much time, because I'm just kind of like, this is literally the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
My supervisor is just like, well, hey, the other counselor who left to move to Washington.
Right.
He has a docking station and dual monitors still in the office. Why don't you just go grab them? And then you can use that at your own house. And then since I'm the only one of my siblings living at home still with my parents, like, they're still somewhat set up their bedrooms.
Okay.
So my older brother's room has a desk in it.
Oh, perfect.
So, like, I went to the campus, picked up all that stuff, hooked it all up in my brother's room, grabbed my desk chair because literally...
Yeah. Need it.
So, like, I have an honest-to-goodness desk now.
Nice.
With
That's
dual
awesome.
screens, keyboard, mouse pad.
Amazing.
My desk chair, and then, like, maybe last month, I got a carpet runner. So, like, because, like, it's actual carpets, upstairs, so you can't really move around a desk chair.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, got it.
So, yeah,
Like that plastic kind of
plastic,
thing?
like, carpet runner
got
thing.
it, yeah.
So you can move around a desk chair, which, that's really nice. And then, just recently, we also all got, like, external webcam things.
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't have to have my laptop open in order to do,
Meetings.
like, a Zoom call.
Nice.
So, I mean, it was really rough initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very cranky.
I can imagine. I mean, I feel like all of us, like, it's not easy to transition from, like, something that we've known our whole lives to all of a sudden, like, this is a new way of living.
Right. And, I mean, I guess, like, a good thing in the transition for me as well is that this current period of time is, like, the peak busyness for my office.
Mm-hmm.
So the days are going by a lot quicker.
That's good. Mine are not. Mine have never.
Alright, so moving on to, do we still work from home, and do we want to?
Yeah, so unlike Alex, I actually don't still work from home. So I don't know about the majority of other districts, but our district has all classified employees back in the office. So the teachers have the option of either working from their classroom or working from home still, but all classified employees are like on site. And so I ended up going back to work at the end of June to do like last minute close out the year like type stuff. And then we had summer break, which was like like end of June, July. And then we came back at the beginning of August. And it's been so weirdly different because obviously like there's no kids.
Right.
And what is the point of me being there if there's no kids? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's little things I can do here and there, but, like, overall, it's so boring. Like, I complete my work duties within the first hour of work, and then me and my boss, like, my big boss, we just kind of hang out the rest of the day. Like, we've watched Sherlock one time. Like, on Friday, we went to the gym and, like, shot basketball hoops, you know? Like, we were just, like, finding things to kill the time.
Right.
And it's so outrageous because it's, like, why am I even here? You know? Like, I would much rather just be at home and doing this and, you know, having the ability to manipulate my day however I need to.
Right.
Versus just physically being stuck for 8 hours. But then also to talk about, like, you know, being that there's no kids, like, registration for this year was really different. Because I did registration last year, and it was this whole, like, ordeal where every grade was assigned a different day, and everyone in that grade came on that day. They had different stations. Like, they went to the counselors, and they got their classes. Then they went to, like, administration, and, I don't know, did something else. And they came to ASB, and they, like, had the option of buying spirit gear, or buying their yearbooks, or purchasing PE clothes, or, like, whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. And, like, they had all their little stations, and it was, like, it's, like, the biggest day for our school as, like, a revenue builder. Because, like, I think last year, just on registration, we made, like, $60,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so, like, this year we made, like, $2,000.
Right.
And it was, like, oh, my gosh. And it's so different, like, what registration meant this year. And then also, like, virtual learning is proving to definitely not be, like, well received by the kids. So to exemplify this a little bit, last year this time, we had around 30 to 40 kids who were ineligible to participate in athletics. So not saying that they currently were in athletics and then, like, had to be kicked out, but, like, total as a school, these kids, even if they wanted to, cannot participate in athletics.
Because their grades are so bad.
Because their grades are so bad, correct. This year, there is 500 kids who are ineligible.
Oh, man.
And it's like, holy moly. And here's the thing, our school is actually one of the better schools, like, in our area for, like, how we're doing academically and, like, all that stuff. And, like, we have 500 kids who are ineligible.
And even, like, right now, like, you're still, like, considered to be...
Yeah, like, we're one of the better schools in the area.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's like, holy moly. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And here's the thing. Because I'm also going to school. Like, I'm going to college. I'm getting my master's, whatever.
Right.
I love distance learning in that sense. Like, I love not having to drive to campus and, like, sit through a 3-hour lecture, you know? Like, I like just being at home and having to listen to it there, you know?
Right.
So for me, it's like, okay, come on, kids, it's not that bad. Like, you know, when you're in college, you're going to have online classes at some point or another. Like, figure it out. But I guess that's unfair to say because they haven't developed all of those, like, time management skills or, like, responsibility skills or, like, ways to manage an online course yet.
Right. You're, like, 8 to 12 years older than them.
Exactly. And that's why I'm looking at it through a critical lens. My initial response is to be like, come on, kids, like, strap up, you know?
Right.
But then when I really think about it, I'm just like, no, it's not fair to say that. Whereas some kids, they are thriving, but, like, many of them are, like, really not.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like depending on the day and my frustration level on that day, like, I kind of oscillate between, like, those two feelings that you have, because at the same time, I'm just kind of like, you can't deny what the situation is, so you might as well just tough it out and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's very much, like, the that was, like, the attitude, like, around my house, like, growing up. It's just, like, you know, there's no use in complaining about it. Just, like, do what you gotta do and get it done.
Right. Same with mine.
So, yeah. Like,
which is probably why we have that opinion.
Right.
But, like, being realistic, like, many kids don't have that motivating factor growing up, you know?
Right. So, yeah, because it's the weird thing. Like, I don't like to baby kids.
Yeah.
I really, you know, I think that if you expect more out of them, they usually rise to the occasion.
Right.
So, like, I grind my teeth a little bit when I feel like kids are being babied, but...
Totally.
I also feel like if I was their age going through high school...
Be struggling.
I'd have major motivation issues.
Yeah. And another thing to add to this, like, maybe also the reason why you and I, like, oscillate between those two feelings is that we both work in high schools.
Right.
So it's, like, it's not like we're in elementary schools or middle schools where we're, you know, like, we should really be more... like, understanding of the kids.
Right.
And I'm like, you are a hop, skip, and away from having to take online courses in college anyway, you know?
Right, yeah.
But then again, there's a lot of kids who won't go to college, you know, it's not, they won't, you know?
Right.
And so those kids who don't have the ability, aspiration, motivation, any, like, whatever word you want to, like, plug in here to go to college... I'm sure have even less motivation to online learn at this time.
Probably.
Is that, like, a fair thing to say? Is that, like, judgmental or something?
No, but I also think, you know, because I'm not, you know, mentioning which school that I work at, but you know what school I'm working at, and
Correct.
It's two different situations, because, like, the statistics for, like, 100% of the students in my school get admitted into four-year college.
That's true. Yeah, you're also in a different situation from me.
Right. I think... the problem at my school is really, like, overexertion, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just feeling, like, major burnout.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, like, that whole, you know, your end of the spectrum, my end of the spectrum, it's all, like, valid, though.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard for them. Like, if you're not planning on going to college, then why bother, especially, like, if you're doing
Right
that
now.
from home.
Yeah, exactly. Because even, like... You know, if you're not planning to go to college and you're going to school, you at least have, like, your friends at school. You have extracurricular activities. You know, you can get involved in some way. But right now, it's like, you're already not planning to go to college. Why the heck am I going to try? You know, like, there's no reason to motivate me to do that right now, you know?
Right.
So I totally understand that, which sucks, you know? It sucks that, like, these kids are totally just being, like, flushed down the drain, in essence, because of this online platform.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. It really just, it bothers me. It makes me really sad. Like, I wish that there was, and actually there is kind of a solution, not a solution, I shouldn't say that, but for our school in December, students who have special needs or, like, disabilities or anything like that, they are going to be coming back to campus to be receiving, like, their services on campus.
Okay.
Which it's obviously, like, it's doable because it's a much smaller population and they can, like, follow protocol and this is this. And I feel like that's really good because those are the kids that I feel especially are being hurt by this because they're used to every day, you know, having these different kind of services to help them. And now, you know, you can't get those services at home, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, how are you going to get one-on-one individualized attention from your teacher when she's trying to run a Zoom meeting?
Right. That's
I don't know. It's crazy. I'm sorry. My section took up so much time. Go to yours.
Well, okay, so obviously because we pointed it out already, I'm still working from home.
Right.
Which is insanity to me to think of, like, we're slowly creeping up of a year of me just straight up working from home.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because, you know, me going back to work is really dependent on, you know, LA County and when, you know, they let kids back on campus. And then when our board of directors feels like it's okay, because we have our own medical advisory board as well, when they feel like it's okay. And then, like, after, you know, the kids come back, teachers come back, you know, staff that is crucial to, like, day-to-day operations, then my office can think about coming back. So, like,
think about coming back.
Because, like, you know, we can do all this stuff online.
Right.
And if we're not going to be having visitors for, you know, a good period of time because, you know, keeping the kids safe, which is obviously the priority.
Right. Like, what's the point, really?
Right.
Yeah,
so, who knows when I'm coming back.
Right.
And for real, like, I don't necessarily, like, want to come back unless the kids are back full time.
I totally agree with you. Like, take it from me, you don't want to.
Yeah, because, like, even, okay, so let's say, because, like, right now we're doing, like, online tours and interviews, which is whatever. And, like, a part of my job function is to schedule all of our tour guides for virtual tours, which is so difficult because there's a certain population of the student body that's international.
Right.
So there can be, like, a 16-hour time difference.
Holy moly.
And if we have a virtual tour at 2:30, that's now that the time's changed, now that's 6:30 for them in the morning.
Yeah.
But before it was 5:30 in the morning for them.
Wow, that's so crazy.
And sometimes not, the families for the tours, they don't show up. So I'm just like, I'm sorry I've woken you up at 5:30 in the morning. Go back to sleep.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
But anyway, so, like, I'd rather, you know, them all be back in the same time zone, because then it's not, like, killer to give these tours and whatever, even if we still, like, give them online.
Right.
But yeah, so, like, there's not a lot of appeal for me going back unless we're doing things normally again.
Yeah, which that's not going to happen for a while. So I think you're settling into your brother's room.
Right. And which is, like, the crazy thing, too, because, like, my brother's room is the land of misfit toys. So everything that doesn't have, like, a space in my house...
It's just in there.
Is just in there.
That's why you're in there, too.
Right. So it's me and my desk,
funny.
you know, his bed, my twin brother's, like, he has, like, this chest thing that his wife, like, when they were dating, like, had given him. So it's not even in his room anymore. It's in my older brother's room.
Okay.
And, like... my older brother's senior project board thing, because, like, he was a biomedical engineering major. So, like, his, like, senior thesis board is in there. Like, all these crazy things are in there. Like,
it's like the room of requirement.
Yeah, essentially. I'm working in the room of requirement.
It's sick.
Really? Yeah. Which, anyway, so that's that, I guess. But, I mean... I haven't, you know, really landed on myself how I'd feel, like, if given the choice, like, would I want to go back and if I would not, for the following reasons. So I listed it out in pros and cons.
Got it.
So in the pros section, I really like that I only have to dress up for events.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if I'm not seeing anyone, then I just get to be how I wake up, essentially.
Right.
Which means I get to sleep longer.
Right.
Because I don't have to get up early to, like, get ready for the day, put on, you know, work clothes, and then drive over to work. That's not a thing anymore, so that's, like, really nice. Two, which has not... Well, two, it's a good and bad. Bad for my waistline, good for my soul. Is I get to make myself, like, home food every day.
Yeah. That's really nice.
So I'm just kind of, like, you know, not having to really eat out or, like, have, you know, cafeteria food. Like, I can have... And the food at the school was great.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's nice just having familiar, you know, comfy foods.
And I feel like that's also debatable. Like you said, like, not great for your waistline. But I feel like home-cooked food is generally healthier for you.
Right. But I think I'm more...
You're like, maybe the food I'm making is not healthy.
Well, that. And then also, like, I'm more apt to overindulge.
Makes sense.
And then, like, all the food in my house is available to me. So I'm not a snacker. You know this about me. But if I felt inclined to snack, I could. So, like, you know, there's all that. And then also, it's really nice in the sense of, like, since we're at this point in quarantine now, and, like, as you pointed out, like, teachers have the choice now of, you know, teaching from their classrooms.
Right.
So that's what my mom does. And my dad doesn't have a job where he would stay, you know, home anyway. So I'm alone in my house.
Yeah, so it really works out for you now.
Right. So it's nice and quiet. And I can really get in the zone when I'm working. Because there's literally no other distractions. Well, that's not true. But... if I'm, like, really in the work groove, there's no other distractions. Like, I could really, like, lock in.
Yeah.
And get some serious stuff done.
Sick.
On the con side of things is that there's still plenty of distractions because all my home stuff is there.
Right. Yeah, so, like, you're just like, maybe I'll just watch a few episodes of Naruto as opposed to scheduling these meetings.
I love how you pronounce that, too.
Did I pronounce it bad?
Anyway, sorry.
I don't know.
And then, okay, so we kind of like touched on this a little bit, but certain aspects of my job would be a lot easier if everyone was just back on campus, like giving tours. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things that my office does. One of my biggest parts of my job, really. Mm-hmm. It'd be so much easier if everyone was in the same time zone.
Yeah, I feel you.
Because it, like, you know, I don't want to schedule too many international students because of, like, how it's going to cause haywire to their daily schedule.
Sure.
But I don't want to rely on, you know, kids who are in the U.S. too much, like, make it all about them. Like, you know, it's this weird balance. Mm-hmm. And then, really, just feeling kind of lonely.
Yeah. I get that.
Because, like, no one's at home all day. It's just me. Sometimes, like, if I don't have a meeting that day, I don't have to talk, period. Mm-hmm. I could just be silent all day.
Yeah, I feel like that would make me a little bit bothered, too. Like, I feel like I'd be into it for a while, and then I'd be like, okay, I need socialization.
Yeah, because, like, that's the whole thing. Like, I like the socialization of, like, being in an office. It makes me happy.
Right.
And it just not being able to, like we brought it up once in a staff meeting, like my supervisor did. He was just like, you know, you really don't think about, like, how nice it was, you know, back in the office when, like, you have a couple free minutes and just need to blow off some steam and you poke your head into someone else's office and just chit-chat.
Yeah. You don't realize how nice it was to just be able to be in public without having social anxiety. It's basically the root of it all.
Right. So, I guess moving on from that, did you, Drea, acquire any weird quarantine habits?
Oh, did I? Thanks for asking, Alex. So, pre-quarantine, I already had an issue with being a little bit of a germaphobe. I, like, don't share food, I don't share drinks, like, I don't like touching things or, like, touching money. Like, I've always had a little bit of an issue with that. Once this pandemic hit, I have really spiraled. Mm-hmm. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how much of an issue I have to do anything anymore. Like, I feel like it's borderline OCD now. Like, I can't go anywhere without, like, having so much stress. Like, I don't even know the words to it, like, attached to it all. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I bought, like, one of those, like, those hook stylus things.
Right.
That you can use so that you don't have to touch any doors. Like, I'd carry my own pen with me because, like, if someone asks me to sign for payment or whatever, I'll, like, use my own pen. Like, I have gloves in my car. Like, I refuse to go shopping and touch a shopping cart with my bare hands. Like, it's becoming to the point where, like, it's a little bit unhealthy for my mental well-being. I live in constant fear of the people around me and, like, my surroundings. Like,
right.
For example, I went to Victoria's Secret the other day because I had some items I bought, like, early quarantine, and they did not fit right. They're the same exact size, and both, like, one of them was way too small and the other one was way too big.
That's
so
funny.
You tell me what the issue is. So anyway, so I had to return it, and, like, there was, like, a deadline to return it, so I had to go. And, like, just being there in line, like, there was this woman who was just, like, going around and touching everything and, like, smelling everything and just putting it back. And I had so much, like, I felt like my blood pressure rising. And then there was this little boy in front of me, and he was, like, not even, you know, like, it's a little kid. They, you know, they're just innocent.
Right.
And he was, like, trying to hand me, like, something he picked up off the ground, and I was like, oh! I was like, please, God, get this child away from me, you know, like, things like that. Like, I am incapable of being in social situations anymore. But yeah, and then, so then, for, like, not this week, like, 2 weeks ago was the first time that I went to an appointment of sorts, so I had a dentist appointment.
Right.
And it took me, like, I've waited this long, because I really needed to go to the dentist, but I've waited this long into quarantine because I was just so stressed out about it.
Right.
And, like, going to the dentist and having to be in a place where my mouth is exposed has been a new level of stress that
right.
I've experienced. And also, to tangent off of all this topic really fast, I just had a deep cleaning yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever had a deep cleaning.
I have.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
It is not fun. But yeah, so, like, just my inability to chill out has gone out the roof.
Right.
But tell us what new quarantine habits you've developed.
You know, actually, I'm going to go off a little... Before I really get into it for me, I'm going to go off a little bit what you said because, like, it's made me think. Because 100%, I feel like you and my mom are, like, birds of a feather, like, quarantine right now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because it's...
When
like,
you said your mom bought you guys, like, your personal little, like, diner set, like, your forks and knives and stuff, I was like, send me the link. Where can I buy it?
Yeah, so, like, you know, that's something that I live with, which, you know, I can't blame my mom for wanting to make sure that, you know, her wanting to make sure that her family's safe. 100%. That's valid. And so, like, she's constant. And, like, that was a big, like, thing for me that actually kind of went into my next point that I'm going to make. But anyway, like, she would be watching the news all the time. And, like, internalizing all the stuff where I'm just like, I can't hear it anymore. Literally, it's too stressful. I can't deal.
Yeah.
Which she is like, I need every single scrap of knowledge I can.
Yeah.
Constantly looking up articles and whatever. And about, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe, she was telling me when we were in the car, we had just picked up In-N-Out actually, that what the current scuttlebutt, if you guys know what that word is. Scuttlebutt. The current cheese may, the current...
Oh, okay.
You know,
I've never heard that, ever.
You never heard scuttlebutt?
Never. The word on the street. No.
Yeah, the word on the street is, from, you know, the people in the news, is that actually, like, the virus, like, living in actual, like, surfaces, like, touching things is...
not as dangerous.
Yeah, it's a lot lower.
Yes.
Like, you really are probably not going to contract by, like, touching something.
I did read that.
Like, it's really just from the aerosols. So it's so funny, you know, because, like, this is a major problem for you, like, the touching stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, just today, because, like, me, on the sliding scale of things, which really, I think, you know, gives added stress on my mom, really, is that, I mean, I'm concerned about it. But, you know, it's, like, one of those things where I don't feel like I can control, you know, whether or not per se get exposed. Like, obviously, I'm not being an idiot in my daily life and just, like, licking everyone's faces or whatever, you know. I really don't go out. But I don't, like, have a ton of paranoia about it.
Which is arguably much more healthy.
I
Take it from me.
I would like to think so.
But I'm in crippling fear over here.
Right, so, like, it's actually kind of interesting then because, like, before I came here, I had ordered out dinner. And so I have, like, the containers in front of me. Because I ordered out ramen because it was a rainy day today.
Yeah.
It's like, ramen sounds like delish.
Right.
And, like, I have this knowledge in my head that my mom told me, just, like, you know, you really don't need to be that paranoid about surfaces.
Right.
It's not going to transmit that way, really. You're probably fine. So I was, like, sitting there, like, looking at it, and I was overwhelmed by the urge to wipe it down with a Clorox wipe.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, exactly to your point. Like, I even agreed with you right now before you even said it, I finished your sentence. I was like, you can't transmit it, or, like, you can, but lowered risk in services. But that does not affect the fact that I am still paranoid to the max. Like, I refuse to touch anything.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm not a person who's very paranoid about it, but I had this overwhelming urge of just, like, better be safe than sorry. And just, like, wipe it down with the Clorox wipe.
Absolutely, 100%. I am always in the, like, boat of do it. Why not?
Because, like, that's the thing, like, you know, you think about when this whole thing is over and, like, going back to real life. And it just, like, but can you?
That's a great question.
Just, like, I feel like with my mother... And, like, probably you'll feel this as well. Like, even if, like, they say it's over and we move past it, we're still probably going to be living that way a little bit for a while.
Well, to your point, and I don't know, like, your opinions on this individual, but our governor, Gavin Newsom, he released, like, a document, like, mid-quarantine, basically stating how he feels that, like, once all this is over, like, we will actually not go back to normal. Like, he released a bunch of different, like, models of what he thinks life will be like post-vaccine. Right. And so, like, a lot of it was, like, restaurants will probably still keep waiters wearing masks, you know? Like, they'll probably still keep a lot of outdoor seating or, like, spreading out tables and, like, Like concerts might do like temperature checks when you're like going in, and like a bunch of different scenarios. And I'm like, I totally buy into that, because there's no way that we're gonna flip a switch and just be like, okay, time to go back to normal.
Right. And I understand that, there needs to be like some time to acclimate and, all this stuff. But things that I really don't agree with like should cease, really. As far as like normal life things, not like quarantine things, because 100% I just want to go back to normal as soon as physically possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, because there was talk, early quarantine, like mid-quarantine, about like people just stopping like the social routine of shaking hands.
Oh yeah, totally.
And me, I'm a handshaker because I don't like hugs. So I'm just like, shake my hand, dude.
But wouldn't it be like if we don't go back to shaking hands, wouldn't hugging still be even more taboo?
Well, that's not my point, though. Like, when I meet someone...
Like, you just want to shake hands, basically.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like it's the polite... Because that was the polite thing to do.
Right.
Pre-quarantine. It's like you meet someone, you shake their hand. It's what we've been
conditioned to feel is correct.
Right.
Absolutely. So I am not opinionated on that, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so, like, stuff like that. And, like, I think that, whenever it is really safe to, like, and obviously not all right away, like, in moderation, people just need to be able to be out there and living their lives.
Yeah. Will it happen? I doubt it. At least for a while.
As long as it's not forever.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be forever. Like, at some point there has to be, like, a sense of normalcy, but will it be, like, within the next 2 years? I don't think so. Like, maybe 5.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just kind of like... because of the depression that comes with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah, 100%. Not going to talk about that.
We're social beings. We need to be able to be social.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so actually moving...
I was going to say, I'm just like, I feel like you haven't hit any of your points yet.
Okay, so really what it is, like, my weird quarantine thing is I've become, like, a super-duper hermit.
Yeah, I feel you.
My desire to engage with the general public really has gone way down.
Totally.
And that's not to say that I don't, like, miss my friends or whatever, because 100% I do. And, like, whenever I do get messages, like, from them, I'm really happy. But when I'm in this situation, because this is a lot, actually, like, how it was when I was working weird times at Fox. I became a hermit as well, because I just wasn't really seeing people. I was awake at weird hours of the day when people weren't really, messaging each other or whatever.
Right.
So, like, I just... kind of shut down socially, I guess. Like, all I want is to be in my room all day. I just want to be in my room.
Yeah, I feel like while you're working at Fox, like, you would come to the boba shop and then you'd go home.
Right.
Like, that was it.
Yeah. So just, like, very sparing, like, social interaction, mostly because it stresses me out.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Like, there's so much going on where I'm just very easily stressed out now. And also very easily irritable. Well, and that's the thing, like, how we were talking about with pet peeves, not, like, to, the outward-facing people, but, like, people close to me, I'm a lot more irritable to them now.
I feel
so, like, the worst way.
Yeah.
Like, it's really easy for me to be, like...
It's, like, the people
annoyed.
that you don't want to be annoyed with, but, like, so easily annoyed by.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks.
Which, like, yeah. Anyway, and really, at this point, I don't care to leave my house. Not necessarily because I'm afraid of the outside world, but because leaving the house is a pain.
Totally.
Like, having to, like, have the mask on and whatever all the time, like, it's a pain. And then, like, I think about, like, we were talking about how I need to get my car serviced. For, like, I've needed to get my car serviced for, like, a solid month and a half, probably. And... because I get free servicing right now because of my warranty, but I have to go all the way up to Corona.
Oh, God.
And I'm just kind of like...
Corona? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Corona's not far away at all. And I'm just like, this is a pain. I don't want to do it.
That sucks.
Like, literally, I don't want to shop for anything, like, in person. I only want to do things that are curbside pickup.
Totally.
And also not
curbside.
because I'm afraid of going in the store.
It's just more convenient.
Because I don't want to, like, it's already a pain enough that I've had to get in my car. I don't want to get out of my car.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like, literally.
I totally agree with you. Like, the other day, I'm sorry to cut you off, but, like, I have a perfect, like, transition little short story. But every morning, not every morning, but a lot of mornings, I'll stop at Panera on my way to work to get, like, a bagel or something. And I always do, like, curbside pickup. And, like, one morning, I got there and I was like, I'm here, you know, on the app. And I was waiting for like, not even long, maybe like 3 minutes, and they hadn't come out. And I was like, what kind of BS business is this? Like, I was so pissed. And like, I eventually like went inside and just grabbed it myself. And I was like, oh, like so annoyed and like so unnecessarily annoyed. And then it wasn't until like later, I was like, oh my God, like I'm such a drama queen. Like that was so unnecessary. But like, I get it. Like, you know, like you just, it's so much more, it's such a hassle to just get out of your car.
I would say though that that's like one of the best like quarantine things that's like come up, you know, from this whole thing is like I love how curbside pickup is like a thing now in most places.
Yeah, totally.
Especially food places. I'm just like,
bring it to me. I'm not coming to you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I'd perfectly find it if I'll get in my car, sure, and I'll drive myself there. As long as you bring the food out to me.
I wonder if like food workers, like if anyone's listening, is like cringing at us saying this because maybe like they hate when people do curbside, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's like horrific to them. But I'm like, man, I'm sorry, I'm still gonna do it.
Well, on a kind of like side note though, like me, because I used to work at In-N-Out, so it's really interesting to me to see, you know, how people aren't allowed to eat in the dining room anymore.
Right.
And I'm just like, that must be kind of nice for them.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because like that was like, there was a position like the level 1 people, like they just worked the dining room, like making sure it was clean all day. So it must be really nice not to really have to do that anymore.
But also to that exact same point, I wonder how this is going to transition now that we're moving to like the cold/rainy season, because everything's outdoors, and I'm sure like they're gonna have some sort of tarp situation, but there's not gonna be like a tarp from the building to the dining area. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like how are servers going to deal with that?
Right. I mean, good for the good thing for them is that they are, you know, because they don't do curbside stuff, but you know they have drive-through. So it's just the most ridiculous line for In-N-Out like there's ever been in, you know, recorded history. But anyway, that aside being done. But anyway, so for that reason, of me not wanting to leave my house because it's such a pain to me.
Hermit.
I have an Amazon return that I need to
that you still have?
Yeah, so like,
can you just go to like Kohl's?
See, that's the thing, is that I have it selected to drop it off by the Kohl's that's literally 5 minutes from my house.
You're like, God, I can't do it.
Right.
It's funny.
Like this return is sitting next to my bed. All I need to do is just go. And I almost got the oomph to do it today. But then it was raining. I'm just like, that's a pain.
I feel you. That's so funny.
So I'm just like, I mean, thankfully, like it says on the return like thing that I have until the new year.
Oh my God! So you're just like, I got time.
Eek. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, I just don't want to leave my house.
That's funny.
I'm so lazy now.
I feel you. That's me too. If I didn't have to leave my house, I wouldn't.
All right. So, anyway, what do you do during this time to stay sane?
So at the beginning of quarantine, when I was like at home doing nothing, I got really into working out. And not because I was trying to be healthy necessarily. I was more just trying to create routine.
Right.
Like I didn't want to, like I said, continue with my pattern of waking up, watching some TV, taking a nap, watching more TV, and then going back to bed. Because that was like just not healthy, like physically, mentally, emotionally. It's all bad.
Right.
So I was like doing HIIT training every single day, which if anyone's done HIIT training, it's miserable. And I was doing that every day, and I was like 45 minutes of it. Awful. I also really got into baking and cooking over quarantine, like an unhealthy amount. Like to the point where my roommates started making fun of me. Like they were just like, who are you making the cookies for? Nobody's eating them, you know? Like I bought an Instant Pot. I used it a ton. I looked up a bunch of recipes. And I almost bought a KitchenAid. But then like right as I was like really thinking about buying one is when I started having to go back to work. Which I think my husband was like, thank God.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to the KitchenAid thing. Because isn't that a brand?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. So, I should specify, I don't know, like, every time that me and my friends, and when I say friends, I mean roommates.
Right.
Whenever we say KitchenAid, we automatically assume that it's that, the countertop mixer.
Okay.
It's, like, pretty expensive. It's pretty high quality.
Right.
And that's what I meant by that.
Okay.
Sorry, I should clarify.
Like, there's a lot of KitchenAid products.
KitchenAid, the countertop mixer.
Okay.
And yeah, so, like, my roommates really made a lot of fun of me. I was making some bomb food, but, like, it was becoming excessive. And then I watched a lot of Netflix, tons of documentaries. If there's a documentary out there about true crime or any of that, like, I've seen it. And then, obviously, you and I have paint nights every now and then.
Right, yeah.
So that's really what I got into during this time to try to, like, end the monotony, but, like, did it all stick? Not so much. Like, I don't work out anymore. I stopped baking and cooking, and our paint nights are far and few in between.
Right.
But how about you?
So I'll start with the two least concerning things that I've been doing and save the crazy one for last.
Sure.
So, yeah, like, as you mentioned, the paint nights, which have been really cool, but, like, at the same time, kind of frustrating, but not really, because it's fine. Well, listen, so we've only done 2 so far.
Uh-huh.
And, like, we do, you know, the YouTube tutorials. And Drea's always looks like a photograph of the YouTube tutorial.
Shut up.
And then comparatively, like, I look at mine, I'm just like,
That's not true. Yours always has more character. Like, mine is just, like, it has no personality. Like, yours has oomph.
And, like, what she means by that is, like, mine usually kind of purposely as well. Like, I don't do, like, really good, you know, realistic, like, recreations of things. Like, I always kind of just do my own thing with it.
Right.
And here's the thing, is that when I bring my paintings home and hang it up on my wall and, like, don't have to see it next to yours,
You feel good about it?
I'm just like, man, this is really good. I really like this. Like, I was looking at the waterfall painting that we did, and I was looking at it on my wall yesterday and was like, man, this looks really good. I like this. But when we did it together, I'm just kind of like, man, I suck.
Shut up. No, that's not true. Yours is really good. But I do understand that. Like, it's frustrating because, and here's the thing, like, my sister growing up has always been, like, the very artistic one.
Right.
So, like, whenever we did anything artistic, like, my parents would be like, oh my gosh, Danielle's so amazing. She sewed this, she sewed that. And then they would look at mine and they'd be like, good try. You know? So I get it. Like, I get, like, the, like, man, like, I thought it was good.
See, that's the sliding scale. There's Danielle, which is, like, God tier. Because, like, that's, like, a thing, like, you know, in, like, video games and whatever. Like, there's God tier. Like, there's S tier, which is Drea.
And then you're A.
And then I'm A.
Yeah, I feel you. Hey, but at least you're A and you're not, like, C or something.
Right. But I'm just, like, I'm being kind to myself because there's only 3 people that we're measuring.
Oh, my God.
And I know that I'm not bad artistically.
You're really not. You're really not.
Right. I'm sure if we were to throw Celine in there, then I could fall down to, like, D.
Yeah, well, me too. If we threw Celine down there, I'd also be, like, really down there.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So,
go on.
Another thing that's kind of, like, nice and keeping me sane a little bit is actually, like, being able to do this podcast with Drea. Like, it's a nice routine thing for us to do, I think.
Totally.
And a reason to, like, because we do this in her backyard, so we're able to maintain some distance still. So it's nice to see a friendly face.
Yeah,
because literally I don't even know how it would function.
Imagine just never seeing anyone ever.
This is what's keeping me from being a full-on hermit.
I feel you. Me too, though. Like, you and Eduardo are really the only friends I see ever.
Yeah, we're in the same quarantine pod, which I really hate that I'm using that, like, official term, but, like, we're in the same quarantine pod.
I feel you.
And that's really nice because we're also, like, watching Netflix stuff together. Not tonight because Eduardo was lame.
A loser.
Anyway.
You hear that, Eduardo? You're a loser. He was actually supposed to be on this podcast, but he will be on a future one.
Anyway, so, like, that's really nice to be able to, like, do that together on a semi-consistent basis. Well, right now, an actual very consistent basis, once a week, which is great. And then another thing I've been doing is growing my Kindle library. So don't let this fool you because it gets weird.
Okay.
So
whatever
I
that
have
means.
290 books on my Kindle now.
And you've read them all?
Yes. Well, this is not all of them are from quarantine.
Oh,
but
okay.
I would say, like, at least 75 to 80% of them are from quarantine.
Wow, that's a lot.
But keep this in mind, is that only 54 of them are, like, regular books. The rest are comic books. The rest are manga.
Either way, 54 regular books is an inordinate amount. And the reason I say that is because at the beginning of quarantine, I started reading Dr. Sleep.
Right.
And I am on page 100 of Dr. Sleep currently.
You're the worst, and I really wanted to watch that movie with you.
I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. I'm also in school, so I have to read textbooks every week.
And here's the thing, is that, like, I obviously don't have that extra stuff going on, so there's that. But just like how people binge watch TV and movies and whatever.
Mm-hmm. You binge read?
I binge read.
That's a healthy habit.
Not really, because I lose sleep over it. Like, I'll stay up late to finish the book.
All right.
Like, I usually I could finish a whole book in a day.
Oh, wow. Well, how long of a book?
Well, it's really hard to say because they're Kindle edition, you know?
Yeah, I feel you.
So I don't really know, like, how many pages per se.
Fair.
But yeah, so 236 of the books on my Kindle are manga.
Amazing.
Which, no shame, because they're great.
You should watch. You should read Peach Girl. Anyone out there who's interested in good manga and you're into kind of like, not lovey-dovey, but more like slice of life anime, Peach Girl.
I've heard of that, actually.
It's very good. You should really read it.
Anyway, so that's actually a good transition because you said the word. So what I've really been doing during quarantine, shamefully, by the way, like, it's absurd. I've been watching a ton of anime. And here's the thing, in defense of myself. One, I just like it.
Okay, sure.
It's good. I got converted when I was working at Fox.
Sure.
Literally Stockholm Syndrome converted, too. Okay. I didn't want it.
Okay.
It was thrust upon me. But anyway, and then also, like, there's something like thousands of anime out there, like shows and whatever. So, like, there's literally, for any, like, feeling that you have, there's something out there that will, like, suit your taste. So, like, it's really easy to just find stuff to watch. So, the big stuff that I watched and completed during quarantine thus far is a show called Fairy Tale, which is 328 episodes, and I watched it through twice.
That's a problem. That's
just the beginning. Next on my list is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which
I've seen that.
You have?
I've seen most of it, not all of it.
Which is 64 episodes, and I also watched that twice.
Oh my gosh. Do you just, like, finish it and then start it over again, or do you, like, why? Actually, don't answer that. I get it. I do that with comedies.
I mean, you know, you pick up on extra details that you didn't initially.
I don't even know why I asked you, because I do the same thing with, like, Parks and Rec and, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and stuff.
So then the next one was Black Clover, which is 150 episodes.
Jesus.
And I didn't rewatch that one. Not yet. It's on my list to rewatch, actually.
Oh my gosh, okay.
But that one's really good. Loved it. And that was something I actually finished maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago now. So, like, that's pretty recent.
Okay.
And then the most obscene part of it, because it's only been 3 or 4 weeks then, is that I've watched all of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, which altogether is 720 episodes.
Yeah. So
that is a problem that I've been able to do that in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. I don't have words like that. That's a problem.
And here's the thing. I will be honest and say that towards the very end...
You kind of skip through the filler episodes?
Yeah, because Naruto has an obscene amount of filler.
Yeah, I know.
And at that point, I'm just kind of like... Because here's the thing, is that, like, Shippuden, where, like, the later...
yeah, I know what
series,
it is.
Like, it ends... The last couple of seasons of it are, like, all about a great war. And they put stupid filler episodes in the war stuff. So, like, 1 minute you're in the war stuff, and then the next is, like, a
recap
10-episode flashback arc that's about nothing in particular. So, because of that, I would say I skipped about, like, maybe 20 episodes. I'll say that I watched 700.
Okay, fair.
Of the 720.
And then also to, like, justify it all, like, if you skip the beginning song, isn't it, like, a 12-minute episode after that?
That's not true.
Really? That's what Aaron told me.
That's also not true. He's exaggerating.
Okay. Well, then, sorry, you have a problem.
The beginning song
I'm trying to help you out here.
Maybe, like, a minute and a half.
Okay, well, then, you have a problem.
Which also, on the, like, me having a problem thing, a byproduct of this is now I have a playlist on my phone for anime openings and endings that I like.
Oh, my God. You would.
It happens, man.
Well,
anyway.
It sounds like you need to stop.
And then Also, on top of that, I've watched, like, maybe, like, a half a dozen other, like, smaller anime stuff.
Okay.
That's been, like, max 24 episodes each.
Yeah. I watched Ouran Host Club. That's 24 episodes.
You watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I finished it. Oh my gosh, I'm, like, really sad that it's only one season. I wish it was more.
That's the thing. And that's why, actually, like, I've watched all of these series that have, like, an outrageous amount of episodes. Is I hate that.
That it ends so abruptly?
Yeah, I hate when they only give it one season because it ends abruptly, and usually I want to know more of the story, which actually is why I have so many manga.
Yeah, I might look into the Ouran manga because I just want more.
It's really good.
Yeah, I might look into it.
It ends because I actually bought it because of that reason over quarantine, so it's really good.
I might do it.
But yeah, so I've had a really obscene anime habit, and actually the first full anime series that I watched, Inuyasha, I think tonight I'm going to start rewatching it again.
Oh my gosh.
Just for fun. Well, it's because it's like my favorite one.
Yeah, I know. You've been trying to get me to watch it.
You should. And also, after like 12 years or something, there's a spin-off show now. Like, there's a sequel show.
Fantastic. I hope it's nothing like season 9 of Scrubs.
It's not.
Okay.
I mean, it's frustrating to watch for me right now just because, like, they are not acknowledging where all the main characters are right now, which I'm just kind of like,
get to it. Yeah, I feel you.
But yeah, it's like 4 episodes in now. So that makes me want to rewatch the original, which I feel like, is pretty understandable.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
But yeah, so I've become a major nerd.
Become?
Yeah, right. Good point. But yeah,
Anyway.
like, I've really indulged in my nerd stuff, and I'm also watching Clone Wars for my brother and sister.
Shout out to your brother and sister.
I'm making it through, you guys. I'm doing it. I'm doing my best.
Anyway, okay, so let's round out this podcast with the top 5 things we would do if quarantine was over. So I will begin. So my first thing, which I notice is also your first thing, because we talk about it endlessly, is that once this is all done, we are strapping up all of our belongings, grabbing our closest friends, and we're taking a trip to Europe.
100.
Like, I have been meaning to go to Ireland for the longest time, and at this point, because we can't do anything, that trip has expanded to, let's go to Ireland, but then following Ireland, let's go here, So, not set in stone, like, exactly where we'll be going, but we will be going to multiple places for sure.
Right.
And the thing about Europe is that when you go to Europe, it's so easy to travel from country to country because everything is so, like, clustered into one space.
Yeah.
So you just, like, jump on, like, a little plane, $70, and all of a sudden you're in Spain,
Right.
So, very excited about that. The next thing I would be doing, or will be doing, is going to Disneyland / Disney World.
Right.
I am having the most Disney withdrawal right now. Like, I miss it. I miss just being able to zip down to Disneyland, grab a wine and just hang out, not even necessarily go on rides, like just hang out with the ambiance,
Right.
Miss it. I miss going to restaurants.
Right.
I miss being able to eat normally. I miss going to movies. So definitely will not be taking that for granted. And then lastly, and this is like the most depressing, is I just want to hug my mom. Like, I want to hug her and not be scared that I'm going to kill her. You know what I mean?
That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to do that. And one honorable mention, I'm very excited to go to a concert. Like, I am definitely, like, I have the most pleasure out of going to concerts, and not right before, but, like, very soon before, what's the right terminology? Shortly before quarantine happened, we went to the Jonas Brothers concert.
See, I was going to say, because, like, was our last actual vacation and concert together back in back in December?
Yes.
So Mexico and Joe Bros?
Yes. 100%. Because we went to the Jonas Brothers, what was it called? The Happiness Now tour?
Happiness Begins.
Happiness Begins tour. We went to that together, and then shortly after we went to Mexico, and then here we are.
Right.
So, I have no words. Like, just so the end.
Right.
Like, this year has been so outrageous because I don't know if you remember, Alex, when we were in Mexico, there was like that scare of World War III with Iran. And like, we have a friend who's in the Marines, and he was straight up telling us, like, yeah, my commanding officer is telling me, like, I need to be ready at a moment's notice to ship out.
Yeah.
And so we were like, holy Jesus, like, what are we coming back to when we get to the States again? So that happened, like, Kobe passing away happened. What other things happened in 2020?
I have a nephew now.
I mean, you have I mean, like, as, like, a whole, like, for society.
Hey, man, that's a pretty big thing.
I mean, that's a big thing for you. That's a big thing for you. But I'm talking more, like, historically, what has happened in this year.
Let's see.
I know that there was more. Australia was on fire.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we had some pretty bad fires, too.
We've had fires, not to the level of Australia, obviously, but we had fires.
Wasn't there the killer bee thing?
Oh, yeah, the hornets, the murder hornets.
Right. Which,
also,
was that, like, real?
Yes, it was. And I read an article recently about how scientists have infiltrated their nests.
Oh.
So basically what they did was they caught because it was localized to Washington.
Okay.
It didn't spread, luckily. And they were able to catch one or two murder hornets, and they attached to them a GPS tracking device. And then they let them out into the wild, and that's how they were, like, led to their hives.
Uh-huh.
And then they, like, destroyed the hives.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
Well, I would say that another major thing for this year, which has just today been resolved, is the election.
Yes, also huge, the election.
So
go Biden.
So, you know.
So yeah, it was just an insane year, and yet we've done nothing.
Oh, you know what else? I just remembered. It was I shouldn't be laughing. Chadwick Boseman.
Oh my God, I know. We bring it up, Alex. Yeah, I mean Chadwick, and then also like Regis. Who else passed away this year?
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery just a few days ago. Like, man, this is just a tough year for bad things happening.
See, this is why I don't feel bad adding my nephew to this list, because I'm just like, at least my thing was a good thing.
Positive, yeah, totally. But those are my 5 things that I want to do once quarantine is done. How about you, Alex?
So my first one is also traveling to Europe with the homies, and I'm just like, I think over a week minimum is what I'm looking for
100%.
here.
I will not go for less than a week.
Because, I mean, I don't like long trips in general. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really suit me because I'm not used to it.
Sure.
But literally the last vacation we had was, in 2019, basically. So, like, this entire time working and then having the additional stress of all this stuff, not having taken any vacation at all. Like,
totally.
I'm like, whenever this is over and we're actually able to get out, I'm going to need to, like, get out.
Yeah, totally. 100%. I'm with you. I'm there. Where's the plane ticket?
Yeah, basically. And then my second one is also similar to yours in the sense of, like, I want to go to a theme park of some kind.
I mean, you want to go to Universal, really, because you have a pass.
And, yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, because I'd be fine going to Disney. You know me.
Yeah,
I'm just down for the cause.
But you got to get the worth out of your pass.
Right, because, like, the payments have been, like, put on hold because of, no one being able to go.
Right.
And I'm just like, until when is my contract being extended? Mm-hmm. Like, for real. Mm-hmm. Like, when am I going to be free? Because I was going to be done with my Universal Pass, too. Mm-hmm. Like, I was planning on not renewing. Mm-hmm. And
now you're just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Sucks.
So, yeah, there's that. Going out to, well, not that I go out to eat at restaurants because I don't. But, like, I do take up from restaurants. But, yeah, going out to eat at a restaurant would be major. And also going out to eat at a restaurant that's not, like, within my, like, 5-mile sphere.
Oh, yeah.
My house.
Like making an event out of it.
Right, like, I'd love to go to Audison again. I'd like to go to Dicokia again. I'd like to go to Vince's again. Because Vince's, know, is delicious, but also, I don't want to have it as takeout.
Totally.
Because it always goes
good.
awry for takeout.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm just like, I want these things. And then movies is also, like, I didn't put this down on my list, but you saying it, like, because I actually realize right now that I only have 4 on my list, of 5. But I'll add movies on there, too. and like just seeing friends in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, adding movies on there because you know me, I would go to the weekend, like go to the movies almost every weekend.
Yeah, like every Sunday with your dad.
Yeah, and it's majorly cramping my dad's style that we can't go to the movies.
Right.
So
Have
like,
you guys been watching movies at home together at least?
Not really.
That's sad.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But because like we watch TV shows a little bit together, but that's the thing. Like, really, no one in my house knows what to watch, which is another reason why I'm just like watching my own thing and that's it. But anyway, that's a different discussion. And then I put down as number 5 literally anything. Like anything that anyone asks me to do after quarantine, I'll be just like, yeah, man, sign me up.
Let's go. That's funny. Yeah, I feel that.
I'm like, I'm not gonna need an excuse. Just literally anything that takes me outside of my house and like lets me socialize with people. I'm there.
Yeah, totally.
We can go to all the sushi you want. I hate fish, but let's go get sushi.
Like, I don't care, I'm there. That's funny. Yeah, I'm down for everything too. Like, I mean, with an extent, like to an extent, like if someone's like, hey, let's go to this rave, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. But like, you know, things that I wouldn't normally do, like I'd be down for.
Right. Like if someone wanted to go skydiving, I'd like go with them to like the place and like wave goodbye.
Same, yeah. I was like, I will not be participating in that, but I will drive you there.
Right, exactly. And like literally, I was thinking about this the other day too. I'm just like, I've only had Korean barbecue once, and it was really good. And I've never like really been able to go again, and now it's quarantine. Just be like, it'd be nice to do something fun like that. That's not the typical thing that I always did back in the day.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so that's my feelings.
Nice. Well, Alex, this has been somewhat of a therapeutic process, also a little bit depressing. But I'm glad we spoke about it, and thank you, Juan, for recommending this topic for our podcast.
If you did.
If you did. I'm pretty sure you did. I'll double check it. But, yeah, here's the thing. Like we mentioned earlier in today's podcast, this is going to be our last episode for the season. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have an episode next week, because we will. But we're planning on changing our format slightly. It'll still be like similar content as what we've been doing, but we hope to add more segments and have different, like maybe a different organizational pattern. Do you want to talk on it a little bit, Alex?
I mean, the way you described it to me just before we started recording was like we give like life updates and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. We're going to have like a little discussion after this podcast to kind of more delve into what we envision.
Right.
But yeah, so expect to see season 2 next week. If you guys have recommendations for podcasts, hit us up on our Instagram at TRUUU Podcast with 3 U's.
Right.
And any last words, Alex?
I'm really glad. I'm actually glad that we ended up doing this episode, because we had talked about doing it a lot earlier, but I think that this was the right time because like we've had enough time to like really think about it and like decompress.
Yeah.
And it's not as dire. Well, it is still dire, but it's not like as stressful as it was in the beginning.
Yeah, it's like we're not negatively viewing it right now.
Yeah, like we've had time to acclimate, time where it's not like everything sucks.
Yeah, totally.
So I think this was the better time to do it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, so, you know, hoping for the best, hoping that we'll be able to return to somewhat of a normal life soon. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week in season 2.